Whether or not you agree with the motion to dismiss, I think this is a scummy practice. These emails, in the context that was, maybe even the context that was presented to the Times, they're totally one-sided and fail to paint the full picture that Justin Baldoni felt attacked. Before shooting, she objected to some sex scenes you wanted to add that she considered gratuitous. Ms. Hoover had experienced frustrations with you. This goes back to what I said in the beginning. Nobody needs to hire a PR firm for a retaliation campaign when the person that you would be retaliating against is actually just making herself look like a cunt all on her own. The hair care line plummeting. Why is this such a huge point? Hey everybody, welcome back to the Court of Random Opinion. My name is Neidigh, and this is Butter. This afternoon, the New York Times filed their motion to dismiss Justin Baldoni and the Wayfarer party's amended complaint in court. I did a stream earlier going over the entire motion to dismiss. However, I want to quickly go through an update on the emails that they submitted in their exhibits. Now, in at least one of these emails, the one sent by Megan Twohy to Justin Baldoni, they're describing the rift that happened between him and Colleen Hoover, when it happened and why. These emails were submitted on a Friday night, the day before they said they were going to publish this article, and they only gave them until noon the next day to answer. Mind you, this is on December 20th, right before the Christmas holidays. Whether or not you agree with the motion to dismiss, I think this is a scummy practice. I think it was a shitty thing to do to drop this on Justin and the other parties the night before and not give them any real time to submit a substantial response to everything they were laying on them at that time. But you be the judge. Let me know if you agree or disagree and what you think about the motion to dismiss. I'm not going to read everything word for word, but I am going to give you the significant highlights. The first of these emails was the only one sent before 9 p.m. This is from Megan Twohy, reporter for the New York Times. Miss Abel, we're reporting about a crisis communication operation conducted on behalf of Justin Baldoni, Jamie Heath, and Wayfarer Studios to protect their reputations and harm Blake Lively's, as described in a legal complaint filed today. Our reporting found that you participated in the effort, which was undertaken last summer out of concern that complaints Ms. Lively had made during the filming of It Ends With Us would become public during the movie's rollout. We have learned that Ms. Lively filed the legal complaint against you, Mr. Baldoni, Mr. Heath, Steve Sarowitz, Wayfarer, Melissa Nathan, and Jad Wallace, alleging sexual harassment, retaliation, and aiding and abetting of harassment and retaliation, among other claims. The complainant claims misconduct on the part of Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath during filming, including repeatedly violating physical boundaries and making sexual and other inappropriate comments. The complaint includes a side letter to her contract, signed by Mr. Heath, in which the studio agreed to install more safeguards during filming and agreed not to retaliate against Ms. Lively. She is now saying they violated the terms of the letter. The complaint includes extensive private text messages and emails that she obtained through a subpoena and that document the crisis communication operation. They include exchanges involving you, your team, Mr. Baldoni, and Mr. Heath. The New York Times reviewed these, along with other documents. We are seeking your response to the claims of retaliation through this PR campaign, and we would welcome the opportunity to talk with you on the record. Please offer any on-the-record comment, as well as any other information you think we should know. Additionally, please notify us of any inaccuracies. We need to hear back from you tomorrow by noon Eastern. Among Ms. Lively's allegations. In May, several months after filming wrapped, Mr. Baldoni was worried when he realized that Ryan Reynolds had blocked him on Instagram. We should have a plan for if she does the same when the movie comes out, Mr. Baldoni wrote you in a text message. Plans make me feel more at ease. You were already working as a publicist for Mr. Baldoni and Wayfarer. Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath hired Melissa Nathan, a crisis communications specialist, who in turn brought in Mr. Wallace. The plan was to harm Ms. Lively's reputation. Ms. Nathan shared a planning document in early August describing options to pursue if Ms. Lively or her team went public with complaints about Mr. Baldoni's and Mr. Heath's behavior. She suggested talking points to use with reporters, including that Ms. Lively used an imbalance of power to take creative control of the film. Mr. Baldoni wanted more. You wrote to Ms. Nathan, I think you guys need to be tough and show the strength of what you guys can do in these scenarios. He wants to feel like she can be buried. Ms. Nathan responded, of course, but you know when we send over documents, we can't send over the work we will or could do because that could get us in a lot of trouble. We can't write it down to him. We can't write we will destroy her. Imagine if a document saying all the things that he wants ends up in the wrong hands. You know we can bury anyone, she added, but I can't write that to him. 3 days later, Mr. Baldoni texted you, flagging a social media thread that accused another celebrity of bullying behavior and that had generated 19 million views. Mr. Baldoni wrote, this is what we would need. And as I said during the stream, guys, I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, well, he feels like he was bullied out of his own movie. The guy was forced to watch his premiere in a fucking basement, and he couldn't be around any of the other cast to do, like, press for the movie. So yeah, I think this is kind of a reasonable thing to look into, is how to combat that kind of bullying behavior and how they're going to try to make him look bad in the press. These emails, in the context that was, maybe even the context that was presented to the Times, because it's the context that was presented in the CRD complaint, they're totally one-sided and fail to paint the full picture that Justin Baldoni felt attacked, and he knew that there was something bad coming, because of the way Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds forcefully took over the film. Ms. Nathan presented proposals to hire contractors to dominate social media through full social account takedowns by starting threads of theories and generally working to change narrative. You wrote to Ms. Nathan, "I think we need to put the social combat plan into motion," and she responded, "So do I." The team worked to block stories about Mr. Baldoni's behavior that had concerned Miss Lively and reinforce negative ones about the actress. The press coverage probing Mr. Baldoni's separation from Miss Lively and the rest of the cast was largely vague and didn't include the most serious allegations against Mr. Baldoni. Ms. Nathan texted you, "He doesn't realize how lucky he is right now. We need to press on him just how fucking lucky." The whispering in the ear, the sexual connotations, like Jesus fucking Christ, other members feeling uncomfortable watching it, I mean, there is just so much. Ms. Nathan indicated that she succeeded in keeping allegations against you out of stories, and wrote in one text that major news outlets were standing down on HR complaint. You wrote to Ms. Nathan, "So are we in the clear now? Did we survive?" And she responded, "We survived. All press is so overwhelming. We've confused people so much, mixed messaging. It's actually really funny if you think about it." Under the official promotion plan, Ms. Lively focused on the uplifting nature of the film rather than the abuse. When the PR team saw that critics accused her of being tone deaf, the group decided that Mr. Baldoni would highlight survivors of domestic violence. There are references in emails to social manipulation and proactive fan posting, and text messages cite efforts to boost and amplify online content that was favorable to Mr. Baldoni or critical of Ms. Lively. Ms. Nathan sent you a comment from Mr. Wallace that "We are crushing it on Reddit." The next day, one of her employees texted, "We've also started to see a shift on social, due largely to Jed and his team's efforts to shift the narrative." Ms. Nathan wrote to you, "And socials are really ramping up in his favor. She must be furious. It's actually sad because it just shows you have people really want to hate on women." When a TikTok sleuth started asking questions about Mr. Baldoni, you texted that "We flagged to Jed and his team for more serious action on the social side." You wrote to Ms. Nathan, "The narrative online is so freaking good and fans are still sticking up for Justin, and there literally has been no pickup of those 2 articles, which is actually shocking to me. But I see this as a total success, as does Justin. You did such amazing work." Ms. Nathan responded, "Narrative is crazy good, so did you. The majority of socials are so pro-Justin and I don't even agree with half of them, lol." Mr. Baldoni periodically looked for assurances that the crisis team was not deploying bots. Ms. Nathan wrote that they were not using bots, and that Mr. Wallace's operation is doing something very specific in terms of what they do. I know Jamie and Jed connected on this. On August 16th, when Ms. Nathan shared a Daily Mail article headlined "Is Blake Lively set to be cancelled?" you responded, "Wow, you really outdid yourself with this piece," and Ms. Nathan wrote, "That's why you hired me, right? I'm the best." And as I said in the stream earlier, this really sounds like a sarcastic conversation that you might have with a friend or a coworker that you're friendly with. We've all kind of seen that set in a different context as well, so I don't really buy that as a serious statement. The manipulated media coverage and online commentary became an unusually high percentage of Miss Lively's online presence. She was branded tone deaf, difficult to work with, a bully. Sales of her new hair care line plummeted. Sincerely, Megan. You guys will see if you go through all the emails, like, the hair care line plummeting. Why is this such a huge point? Because she sent different variations of this email to all the parties, kind of tailoring bits and pieces of it, and she always mentions the fucking hair care line. Jennifer Abel responded at 11:16 p.m., so 4.5 hours later. "Megan, please see the on-the-record statement that must be included in full, attributed to the attorney for Justin Baldoni, Wayfarer Studios, and all its representatives, Brian Friedman. It is shameful that Ms. Lively and her representatives would make such serious and categorically false accusations against Mr. Baldoni, Wayfarer Studios, and its representatives, as yet another desperate attempt to fix her negative reputation, which was garnered from her own remarks and actions during the campaign for the film. Interviews and press activities that were observed publicly, in real time and unedited, which allowed for the internet to generate their own views and opinions. These claims are completely false, outrageous, and intentionally salacious with an intent to publicly hurt and rehash a narrative in the media. Wayfarer Studios made the decision to proactively hire a crisis manager prior to the marketing campaign of the film. to work alongside their own representative with Jones Works employed by Stephanie Jones, due to the multiple demands and threats made by Ms. Lively during production, which included her threatening to not show up to set, threatening to not promote the film, ultimately leading to its demise during release if her demands were not met. It was also discovered that Ms. Lively enlisted her own representative, Leslie Sloan, with Vision PR, who also represents Mr. Reynolds, to plant negative and completely fabricated and false stories with the media, even prior to any marketing commencing for the film, which was another reason why Wayfarer Studios made the decision to hire a crisis professional to commence internal scenario planning in the case they needed to address. The representatives of Wayfarer Studios still did nothing proactive nor retaliated, and only responded to incoming media inquiries to ensure balanced and factual reporting and monitor social activity. What is pointedly missing from the cherry-picked correspondence is the evidence that there were no proactive measures taken with media or otherwise, just internal scenario planning and private correspondence to strategize, which is standard operating procedure with public relations professionals. And that was the only response Justin Baldoni's side was able to give, because even though the Times gave them until noon the next day, which, by the way, emailing people on a Friday night and say, by noon on this Saturday, tomorrow, you better respond and tell me everything you want to say, like, that's ridiculous to me. So like I said, she sent just slightly different variations of this email to all the parties. This was the one to Justin, so I'll just read to you some of the tiny different details. During shooting, Ms. Lively brought complaints to you and Mr. Heath about alleged sexual and other inappropriate conduct. She claimed you had improvised unwanted kissing with her and discussed your sex life, including encounters in which you may not have received consent. She claimed that Mr. Heath had shown her a video of his wife naked, and that he watched her in her trailer when she was topless and having body makeup removed, despite her asking him to look away. She alleged that throughout filming, you and Mr. Heath invaded Ms. Lively's privacy by entering her makeup trailer uninvited while she was undressed, including when she was breastfeeding her infant child. And we know that's not true, because she invited him in the trailer. Ms. Lively had expressed concerns about you from the beginning. Before shooting, she objected to some sex scenes you wanted to add that she considered gratuitous. With the support of Sony, the film's distributor, she made her own cut of the movie, bringing in editors and a composer, and adding in a Taylor Swift song. Wayfarer and Sony went with Ms. Lively's cut, and she got a producer credit. Before the release of the film, Colleen Hoover, Ms. Lively and other cast members, informed Sony and Wayfarer that they would not do any publicity appearances alongside you during the rollout of the film. Ms. Hoover had experienced frustrations with you and became upset when you told her about Ms. Lively's allegations at a dinner last spring. You worried that the unfollow situation is what everyone is pointing at, seemingly that something is much bigger under the surface. As why would they all unfollow? And a member of the PR operation responded, "We flagged to Jed and his team as well." Sales of her hair care line plummeted. You know what? Rebrand the hair care line under someone else's name, and if it does well, then I might agree that this had something to do with the failing of your fucking hair care line. But the number of times I've had to edit out your frizz for my thumbnails suggests otherwise. Blake Lively is an objectively beautiful woman. I'm not criticizing her appearance at all, but if you're going to put out a hair care line, you might not want to have so much going on out there. And guys, when I was recording this last section, I forgot to pull the emails up in the window on the side. Most of the emails are the same, so I skipped over that anyways, and I'm just going to give you the quotes that were significant, which ones were different based on the individual she was emailing. Alright, this is Megan's email to Jamie Heath. And again, I'm only going to go over the parts that are different, slightly different than the other email she sent. Actually, the one to Jamie Heath was almost exactly the same, so I am going to skim past this. Here's an email to, and it's redacted, but then it says Ms. Nathan. So this is where it gets a little different. She says, "You have worked with high-profile clients, including Johnny Depp, whose ex-wife Amber Heard accused him of physical abuse. He successfully sued Ms. Heard for defamation, and the trial became a spectacle amid suspicions of an online campaign to damage her credibility. And the text messages you reference your involvement in that campaign. Can you comment on your involvement and what was done?" This year, after a decade at the New York consultancy Hilt 6 Strategies, I don't know if I said that right, you started your own firm, Tag PR. Its majority stakeholder is a company run by the prominent music manager Scooter Braun. In August, Kjersti Fla, a Norwegian entertainment reporter, uploaded to YouTube a 2016 interview she had done with Ms. Lively, in which the actress snapped back when Ms. Fla made a comment about her baby bump, titling it, "The Blake Lively interview that made me want to quit my job." Well, whose fucking fault is that? Are you serious? This goes back to what I said in the beginning. Nobody needs to hire a PR firm for a retaliation campaign when the person that you would be retaliating against is actually just making herself look like a cunt all on her own. In 2022, in the midst of Mr. Depp's legal battle with Ms. Heard, Ms. Flaw posted clips of her interviews with the actor, tagged Justice for Johnny Depp. And? What's your fucking point, Megan? This is her email to Sarowitz. Specifically, the legal filing asserts that you divulged at the film's New York premiere on August 6th that you were prepared to spend $100 million to ruin the lives of Miss Lively and her family. It also says you were among the non-essential persons present on set during filming of a birth scene involving Miss Lively, and that you suggested flipping the narrative on a positive story about Miss Lively and her husband. And the last one was to Mr. Wallace. Court records show that your clients have included Paramount Pictures and the YouTube personality Aiden Ross, and in a since deleted LinkedIn profile, you describe yourself as a hired gun with a proprietary formula for defining artists and trends. Frankly, to me, that just sounds like he's a little yeehaw, but that doesn't, really mean anything. A hired gun, that's obviously not, he's not being literal. He's not a fucking hitman. I mean, maybe he is, but it has nothing to do with this lawsuit. Jed, are you a hitman? Please don't answer that. I do not want to know, and I do not want to testify. I will pee my pants, as I prefer the safety of behind my computer screen. Alright guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. I think some of this was just outright irrelevant, but mostly I think it was absolutely fucking crazy for her to email most of these people she emailed past 9 p.m. on a Friday night, when these people were probably busy, telling them they only had until noon the next day, right before Christmas. Noon on the 21st. 4 days before Christmas. Who knows, all the stuff these people are trying to do to get ready for the holidays, or work they're trying to get done before the holidays so they can spend time with their families. So even if this motion to dismiss does go through, from what I'm seeing in these emails and all the stuff that they would have to respond to within, less than 18 hours, the conclusion I have come to is that the New York Times is kind of fucking scummy. So this did not really make them look any better, in my opinion. Which sucks, because I actually subscribe to the New York Times and I like to read some of their stuff, but it's too bad they were conducted themselves like total fucking assholes here. So, anyways, I'll see you guys soon. We got lots of more content coming your way this weekend. Oh my gosh, so much stuff happened this afternoon and I am exhausted, so talk to you soon.